I'll get my
Do you
AirPods
need a
ready.
reminder in the morning or?
Several, at night and in the morning. And also I'll need breakfast
I'll have it delivered
so that
to your
I can be
house.
nourished for my.
Send me your address. We'll
Okay.
get you some
Thank you.
Dunkin' Donuts
Thank you.
delivered. Is that in your dietary plan?
We can make it work.
Okay.
They have vegan options.
All right, very good. Got a bunch of hand raised for you, so we'll just jump into questions.
Bunch of what?
Hands raised.
Oh, they said hand grenades. I was like, what?
Hands raised. Yeah. We'll start with Brad Thompson. Brad, go ahead. Brad,
You might be mute. You might be
Yeah, you're
muted.
still muted.
Hey, Dwight, you've got the longest tenure on the franchise, but you've only played in one playoff series and been part of and was in the bubble last year. And yet, Rick Carlisle and others in the organization, keep pretty much anytime we write about the playoffs, it's mentioned that the Mavericks haven't won a series in a decade. Is that unfair to attach to this current team as you're going into these playoffs?
Is it unfair to attach? I'm
Yes.
not sure. That's a simple fact of the history of what's happened. So regardless of if we had won a championship last year, I think we'd be approaching this season, this series, this playoffs in the same way. And that's to compete at the highest level possible and make the most of this opportunity, because it's hard. Every year is a new year and every year presents different challenges. This year had a bunch. So we're proud of the fact that we've made it to this point, but we have a new set of goals now, and that's to compete to the best of our ability and win as many games as possible and go as deep as we can.
But you don't feel a 10-year weight on your shoulders?
Like I said, if we had never made the playoffs or if we had won the championship last year, I think it would be just equally as important for us this year to make the most of this opportunity. I think whether 72 games or 82 games, it's a long season and it's a fight, especially in the West, to make it into the playoffs. And we've been fortunate enough to position ourselves towards the end of the year to be seated where we are and to give ourselves a chance to compete in the playoffs. So I think regardless of how long it's been since the series has been won or whatever, things have happened in the past, we have a group here that's extremely excited, extremely enthusiastic, and looking forward to competing and competing at the highest possible level.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin?
Hey, Dwight, how would you describe the level of communication between yourself and Kristaps Porzingis when you're primarily playing the center position, and how that continues to grow with you guys in the lineup together playing the 4 and the 5?
Communication's high. I mean, KP draws a lot of attention, so it's good for me to know what to expect. So definitely keeping in his ear, and he's letting me what's going on at the same time. And defensively, he creates such a problem with guys getting to the rim. So being able to communicate, especially from us to our guards and vice versa, it's a big part of what we do.
All right, Tim Cato?
Hey, Dwight, I can foresee a scenario against the Clippers where, they have several high-level defensive wings, and I could see a scenario where one of them is guarding you and they're switching everything. As a screener, as a roller, how do you combat a switch system and still, find a way to be effective within that?
Combating switches involves moving without the ball, timing, slips, reading scenarios, getting in and out of screens in the appropriate manner. So if you can read a switch to get on the low side and get into the paint, show up for the ball, flash to the ball, be aware of the situation on the offside, the weak side, looking for tags, which will probably be out later or slower or wider, and look for those pockets. It's really about timing, spacing, moving without the ball, and making quick decisions.
All right, Skylar Dixon?
Dwight, similar to what Brad was asking, how important would it be for a young team with a young core to get that first playoff series victory?
I'm not really quite sure how to quantify importance per se in this situation, because we have a singular goal right now. Sorry?
No, okay. Go for it.
What was that?
Brad was on mute.
Oh.
Yep.
We have a singular focus right now. So this is all there is for us. This is the most important thing, period, right now. So I guess I would say hugely important. I'm not sure how to really quantify the level of importance, but this means a lot to us. I think like I mentioned earlier, regardless of what's happened in the past, just for us to be able to battle through this season, through some of the adversity that we had and the adversity we all shared, I think collectively as a league and as a community, for us to be able to be in the position we are now. It's doubly important for us to show up and compete at the highest possible level. So I guess to answer your question, it would be massively important.
Kelly Kaplan.
Hey, Dwight, we've heard stories from others throughout the season about them making bets with Luka, from everything from like half court shots to video games. So I'm curious, have you ever made a bet with Luka, and how did that turn out for you?
Any sort of shooting bet with Luka, I kind of just, I'll be a quiet observer. I like to save and invest my money and do something better with it.
Good deal. Anything else besides on the court?
I'm sorry?
Anything else that you've ever kind of bet against him or competed against him besides on the court?
I mean, to be honest, I'm not really a big betting man. I'm not a big betting guy. Sorry.
We got two more here. Chuck Kugelstein.
Hey, Dwight. You were with the team in the bubble last year, and you got to experience it just being around the team, but obviously not actually getting to play. What's the difference for you, just in the fact that you know you're going to be in the fray of this, and especially what figures to be a pretty passionate and emotional series, and you're a pretty passionate and emotional guy.
So the difference between
just the fact that you were with the team in the bubble last year, you got to experience the playoffs, but not the way you'd like to experience the playoffs because you want to play. But now you are playing, and it's the same opponent, and and that you haven't played in the playoffs for a long time, and so what this means to you.
Yeah, it's big. It's an extremely important moment for me, I suppose, especially in comparison to last year. To have to sit on the sidelines and root on my guys and not be able to get out there into the mix and fight with them was difficult. Obviously, I didn't have too much choice in the matter, but now that I'm physically capable to compete, it's exciting and it's kind of, I don't know the word for it. I'll just use interesting for now, that it's the same opponent. Then that presents an interesting kind of dichotomy for me, I guess, between last year and this year. So I'm looking forward to making the most of this opportunity. I'm definitely going to look back on some of the thoughts and some of the emotions that I had when I was in a position where I couldn't help last year, and try to channel those into my efforts, into my focus, into my preparation as we continue to get close in these next couple of days and on into competition.
All right, we're going to do Lawrence Murray. He's with the Clippers for the Athletic.
What's going on, Dwight? So I know your rookie year actually started in Boston with Rajon Rondo, and you guys were actually traded together. And all these years later, like, what do you recall from that experience that year, starting with Rajon in Boston, getting traded together, and that playoffs together?
Yeah, I mean, Doe was a great vet for me. He was my vet coming in here, and he showed me a lot about what it meant to prepare. I think that was the biggest thing for me, was learning kind of the cerebral side of the game and the preparation side of the game, both physically and mentally. So like late nights in the gym and yoga and stretching and all the things to prepare on the periphery outside of kind of team sanctioned activities. He taught me a lot about that and what it means to be a pro. So I carry a lot of those things on with me to this day. And also his competitive edge. So it's cool to kind of come back, for me at least, full circle into this position where now he's on the other side of the line. But yeah, he's a major competitor and obviously a great player. So it's gonna be a great series.
All right, we got one last one with Wayne Price.
Yes, Dwight, you guys are 27-0 this season when you win the first quarter. What does that say about your team, that when you get off to that fast start and win that first quarter, that you're going to go ahead and win that game?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really look too much into those types of statistics, honestly. But I guess if I had to speak to that specific one, that just comes into a mindset. I think that might be just a checkpoint in a kind of, I don't know, a checkpoint in a series of actions. but I think the game obviously is won throughout. But getting off to a good start is important for us. I suppose that stat might speak to some sort of emotional preparation in terms of coming out and delivering the first punch and battling through that first quarter, maintaining that consistency production-wise and especially defensively. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to compete. And I think regardless of what the first quarter score is, there's going to be a full 48 minutes of a battle every single night. And we have to go in with the mentality that regardless of if we're up in the first quarter, we still have 3 more quarters that we have to win. And if we're down in the first quarter, that doesn't mean the game is over. So yeah, it's a kind of interesting stat to kind of analyze retrospectively, but I don't think it's predictive while you're playing in the game. I think we always have to remain locked in and compete 48.
That'll do it. Thanks, Dwight. Appreciate it.